All right, friends. Well, if everybody's clear, then let's get this show going. So, and I've been thinking about this since we don't really have a big audience yet, like who we're introducing ourselves to. For those people that will listen to this, maybe it'll be some guy like 300 years from now that's been forced to go look at all the old stuff, and he's been listening to like 12 hours of recordings his entire life since he started working, and he's just over it. If you're listening to us now, thank you. We appreciate it. Anybody else?
Shout out,
also appreciate it too.
No, nobody.
Since we don't have old fans.
No.
What'd you say?
I'm not thanking anybody.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Not yet.
Good
Don't
stuff.
have anybody to
listened
thank
for,
yet.
they've been listening for like 45 seconds. I'm not thanking them yet. Until they
Not
prove
until you buy
themselves.
the merch that we don't have.
So,
Gotcha.
if you're listening, I might thank you later.
We'll see.
If you give me a shout out on Twitter, I might.
All right. Well, since we don't have old fans, if you're a new fan or anybody just like checking in, this is your first time, welcome. This is ours as well, so it's going to be awkward and weird, but that's okay. We're going to start off kind of by going around and introducing the four people you see on the screen. For those of you that do know us, it'll be entertaining to hear what we have to say. Those of you that don't, just get a first look. Sound good?
Sure thing. Somebody else go first because I don't want to.
All right, so we decided we're gonna go in. The way we're gonna do this introduction, instead of us going around saying, hi, I'm Ben, and I like this,
And I'm
because
an
that's
alcoholic.
boring.
Hi, I'm Ben.
Cheers.
Yeah. So that's boring. Everyone's had to do it. Everybody has to sit and listen to it, and we're a little different, so we're gonna switch it up. Instead of us introducing ourselves, we're gonna go around and introduce each other. So we decided we're gonna go in alphabetical order. Since my name starts with B, I'll go first, and I'm going to introduce Casey, or Dill, as we like to call him. So, we haven't really decided like what exactly we're going to say, so it's just sort of whatever comes to mind. So Casey, alternately known as Dill, alternately known as the proud owner of Bob Smiley's. He's a crafty, smart guy. Most of the time. He's also a car salesman, so he's just a man of many talents. He's been all over the place as far as work goes, but that's okay.
Not even kidding.
A couple of other interesting facts about Casey. The first time we met each other, was creation the first time we met, or that was just sort of like when we became friends?
It was technically during football, but the first real hit was creation.
Yeah, gotcha. Technically, we met whenever I was friends with your older brother, and I came over to your house.
Yeah, when my sister was running around naked and you were freaked out and never came back.
Yeah, so I'm sure that story will come up another time. But, so we used to go to, I used to go to a youth group back in like early or late middle school, early high school, and we used to go to this big festival called Creation. It's a Christian music festival. And one year, Casey there came along, and we both liked the band Family Force 5. They suck now. They used to be great back in the day.
So
we went to see concerts together. Yeah. And we sort of became good friends. Other interesting thing about Casey.
there's a list.
That's
I
it.
think that's, yeah.
Pretty much just an idiot.
I mean,
Nah, great guy, interesting person, good friend, very, very humble. I think that's all I got for now.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah. And you'll learn more about us as we go through all this show. So, Casey, you're up next.
All right, I'm going to introduce Garrett, a.k.a. Boog, at s1e1 with 2 E's.
you got to give me a little kiss before you introduce me. Come here.
See, this looks really awkward because you two are on the bottom, so you both just went.
Oh my god.
Garrett
It'll
just
look
kissed the
great.
wall.
But yeah, me and Boog started hanging. Well, I mean, the first real memory I think I've had of Garrett was in Miss Alt's class in third grade.
Third grade.
Shout out Miss Alt, huge Steelers fan.
She loved Ben Roethlisberger. She loved him.
But I mean, I don't know. Me, him, and Harrison really hung out a lot in third grade in Miss Alt's class. But it wasn't like the biggest, earliest memory I have of Garrett was Little League Baseball. I played for Fort Ashby and he played for Ridgely. And every time that I went up to bat, I was a little back then. And every time I went up to bat and Garrett was pitching, yeah, I was scared to go up batting against Garrett because him and Colton Dorsey would just gun it in there, and I was just a magnet getting hit by pitches, and it was just inevitable.
You're a magnet for balls.
I mean, to be fair, like, I thought I was Tim Lincecum when I was, like, 12 years old. I had the flow, the mullet going out the back of my cap, so, like, I definitely tried to fill that role. Except for I was fat.
Insert picture right here.
Yeah, we need that reference.
That's going to be uploaded.
He was a sight to see.
That'll be uploaded, yeah.
Then after that, I mean, it probably wasn't until, like, late middle school that we actually started, like, hanging out and getting to know each other. And, yeah, I mean, after that, freshman year, we had every single class together, so we got to spend a lot of time together. And
our lockers were neighbors, like, mine here, his here, and he cut the out of the top of my head probably 50 times in our 4 years in high school. Just an awful person.
And it wasn't gentle. I was ripping that locker door open.
Yeah, I know.
On purpose.
Yeah. But yeah, ever since then, I mean, we've just been the best of friends. So, shout out Bug, Garrett, s1e1 on Insta and Twitter. My boy.
Smash that follow.
So I guess if that's all that Dill's got from me, I'm going to be introducing my boy Minnick, who's either up here or over here. He's somewhere up top. He's wearing
going off my computer, so
he's wearing the yellow shirt. So Minnick, I didn't know Minnick as early as I did Casey. I actually met Ben and Minnick at the same time. The first memories I have of those guys, we actually played in a local baseball league called Hot Stove, and it's for like 13 through 15-year-olds. So obviously they're a couple years older than I am, 2 years really. So I met Minnick. His dad was one of our Hot Stove coaches.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's way back. Like we're talking 10, 11 years ago.
Shout out Mike Minnick.
Minnick. I don't have a whole lot of memory because I know I didn't play whenever I was 13 in Hot Stove. So like my memories were just kind of like sitting on the bench and watching you and like Ben and Mackie just have that camaraderie. Like you guys just had like that really really enjoyable presence. So like I was kind of like, man, I really want to be like these guys. So obviously we only had we only had 1 year together playing Hot Stove, and then I was in 8th grade the next year, so like I didn't see them in school or at baseball. So like we kind of had like a year of disconnect. I would call it like a disconnect, because like I was 14, I wasn't like texting high schoolers because that's kind of weird.
And we weren't texting.
They weren't interested in middle school.
That's the bigger question, is we weren't texting you because you were in middle school.
But they were actually both friends with my older sister at the time. She was a senior, and I think they were like sophomores in high school. And then the following year, my sister graduated. I was a freshman in high school, and I remember Minnick actually coming over for my sister's high school graduation party. And I remember like that's the first time I feel like we really bonded. Like we BS'd over sports, and probably just sports at that time in our life, honestly. I don't think either one of us were as musically inclined as we are now. But I mean, we just kind of developed a friendship through high school baseball, and really it's blossomed into like this big, beautiful thing over the past years. Occasionally we let our beards intertwine when Minnick lets his get long enough. But I mean, overall, Minnick is one of the most wholesome guys that I've ever met. So
ding, 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 ding.
I hope you guys really get to enjoy him the way I have over the past couple years and getting to know him a little bit better.
I appreciate you,
Just
fam.
because it was a thing in the test, now every time someone says the word wholesome, that's 2, we're going to have a counter. I promise.
Ben's gonna have a little
so
bell
much
on his
crap
desk.
for saying the word. I said
Ben's gonna
twice.
have a little. He's gonna have a little bell on his desk every time somebody says wholesome. It'll go, ding. He's like you're waiting for service at a hotel. All right. Well, I guess I'm up last.
Yeah,
oh,
I mean,
man.
if we're following the pattern of following each other on social media, I don't have your ats right in front of me. I know Twitter, you're RMM. Yeah.
034.
034. And
So-
are you just Ryan Minnick on Instagram?
Yes.
And I'll have everybody's tags and everything at the end of the video too.
I'm sorry if you
All
hear
right,
about
yeah, so-
cackling in the background.
Go ahead.
No, it's just
Go
my
ahead
background
and
noise.
check him out, especially if you're into sports, Pittsburgh sports, or just music in general. This is the
Or
man
the
to
band
follow.
Ghost, whom I've heard is very
Up top.
good.
He's up top.
Yeah. I guess people will find out through the episodes that I might be a fan of the Swedish rock band Ghost.
Not
I've
just
heard
a
they're
fan,
pretty good.
Recognized as a top fan on Facebook.
Hey, yes.
Official
proud
top
of that.
fan.
And I didn't tell you guys this, but they have an Instagram account for their fans. It's called Children of Ghost. They featured me on Friday with 3 other people. So
Oi.
That's awesome.
So
I
he's a top class boy now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Top tier.
something like
Top
that.
tier Ghost fan here.
Something like that. There's posters on the wall somewhere back there.
Yeah. That's fine.
All right, so I guess I'm last. Final introduction. Boog, thank you for all of that. I appreciate your kind words.
Absolutely, BB.
So I will be last, and I will be introducing Ben. I'm not going to try to point him out. He's the one in the tie-dye hoodie.
Yes.
So, Ben, I think we probably met in 3rd grade as well, and it was definitely
Yeah.
Frankfurt Colts.
Yes.
I think we may have been in each other's presence before that, because you played Little League Baseball for a different team, but we didn't play together.
Yeah.
So I think our first... Did you play for the Marlins?
I feel like I played for the Marlins when I was in like Florida.
I
But I don't
can't
remember who my
Makes
first team
sense.
was here.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah. Fun
6 of
fact,
one,
I
half
got to
dozen
go
of
out
the other.
on the Marlins field as a T-baller.
Hey.
That's honestly so much higher of an achievement than I've ever accomplished in my entire life.
So, I mean, I don't even have to introduce you anymore. I mean, they've got your number retired and everything down there in Miami, so everybody
Check
already
me
knows
out.
everything about you. But,
Goodness.
so I guess we met 3rd grade, Frankfurt Colts. That was your first year playing football too, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So we really struggled together through that first year. A lot of
didn't play
running and a lot of...
Because they had the C team, B team, and A team. Neither of us played C team. C team
Nope.
was the lowest.
Yep, we
Yeah.
only played B up, so we met in B team. And then from there, it was pretty much every sport all the way up through our senior year of high school. But that friendship really kind of came out off the field, I would say, more than on the field. Not that we
Yeah.
weren't friends on the field, but really getting to know each other off the field from 3rd grade on. Lots of sleepovers, lots of driver 3.
Ooh,
Lots of...
I missed out on those sleepovers, man.
I
Hey,
bet you...
man.
I'm sure you and Casey had yours, too. We were just a little bit...
Not
over.
really.
Well, you guys got to catch up then.
They were too straight for that.
Oh no, absolutely not.
It's all right. You guys can catch up. We still got time. We still got
When,
life left.
Oh,
when
we
Casey
caught
said we
up.
did everything together our freshman year, we did everything together freshman year.
Look, if we, like,
fun
after
visual.
freshman year, if we had a class that was different, we would text one another and be like, yo, go to the bathroom.
GP.
It's time to take a
P.
GP, group poop.
Group poop, absolutely.
Wasn't that from creation?
It started at Frankfurt and then it meandered to
you
creation.
probably took it
Because
there.
Yeah.
we used it on our camping trips, remember?
Yeah.
But
No.
all the way up through high school, Ben and I graduated together. And then actually 2 years at Potomac State. It's a local community college for if anyone who doesn't know. And then we were roommates for 3 years in Morgantown together.
What a
We're
hell of
both-
a time.
Both graduated, so that was a lot of fun for 3 years with Mackie and Scott and Devin for the 1 year. So
It was a good time for us and we weren't even there.
yeah, you guys are coming up.
I
a whole lot.
honestly, like, West Virginia University owes me credits, honestly, for as much time as I spent down there.
But I don't even really know how to put, and I don't mean to sound like a idiot when I say this, but I really don't know how to put our friendship into words, because we just have such a strong friendship and such a strong bond over all these years. I mean, when we met each other, we were 9 years old, and we're 25 years old now, and we're still friends. So it's not that I can't describe it to you guys. It's that I don't know how to describe it. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah, there's too much to it.
And I mean, really the same with you guys now. I mean, we've been friends, Garrett and Casey, for, I don't know, 10 years now.
A handful, absolutely a handful of years.
So, I mean, not quite as long as Ben and I, but, I mean...
Good old
Still feels like it.
USA.
But I think what I would wrap up with Ben with is he's an awesome artist. So go follow him on social media. Check out his drawings and his graphic design. He has a beautiful wife that he's been married to for less than a year. A little less than, well, it's
exactly 3 months.
October 13th.
Yeah, 3 months.
Happy
So
quarter of a first anniversary.
Thank you.
And I
You and
absolutely,
Crabgrass.
Yes, thank you.
and I absolutely love his dog.
Yes, he's right down here, hopefully sleeping.
I haven't heard a peep out of him.
Chico or Poncho, if you're the old man that lives next to me.
Poncho.
Funny story. I don't want to get sidetracked. Go ahead, Garrett.
I was just going to say he's not a chicken, so you wouldn't hear a peep out of him, Casey.
Chicken!
You do hear many noises, though.
Yeah, all kinds.
All kinds
We had
of noises.
Okay, so we gotta make sure we don't get like way too into stories. But just in that like minute segment, I had 2 stories I needed to tell. I will go with. So for Poncho, the reason I said we do have an old man neighbor that lives next to us, and I tweeted today. He keeps calling him Poncho, but his name is Chico, and I just don't have the heart to tell him he's wrong, because it's just I actually kind of like the name. So we've decided if we get another pug, he's gonna be Poncho. So we'll have Poncho.
It doesn't even have to be
Chico.
a pug, man. Just as long as it's another small dog.
You can just
even-
name a stranger that in passing, really. You're going to be Poncho to me from now on.
Get another dog.
Your
Get
next
another
new
dog.
neighbor.
Get another dog and tell your next door neighbor that his name's Chico.
There we
And
go.
You'll be set, and you just have to think of him as the other. You'll be fine.
Oh, man, we had a day today with my neighbor. I don't know if did you guys get a bunch of snow today?
Oh, yeah.
A little skiff.
Yeah.
We got more last night.
Last night, yeah, we got like half a foot here.
Yeah.
I say we probably have about 6 or 7 inches here, so it's a decent amount.
Oh, yeah.
But we just moved here not that long ago, so there's many random things you guys will find when you buy like your own house that you just don't think of. So like one thing is a snow shovel, because it's just you don't really, there's going to be snow, but you just don't think of it. So I had to ask him to borrow it, and he had already finished, so he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So when I used it, I shoveled off our sidewalk onto our cars and everything, and then I put it back on his doorstep and came inside, and we had breakfast. We can see out to where the cars are, and I saw him come back out with the shovel, and he kept like stopping and putting his hand on his hips and just shaking his head. And I started freaking out because I'm like, did I put snow by his car? Like, I tried to put it in the middle of the cars because he's parked right next to Candace, but I think I might have accidentally put more on his side. And I think he was off at me, and I'm like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, I can't go back outside. Like, I don't like confrontation. And
He's gonna
I
kill
can
you.
tell he doesn't like me.
I mean,
and he's a
if
little
he's-
weird. So
If he's old and frail, he could use the extra work, so
Build those muscles back up,
might,
boy.
get him back in shape, get him,
there we go.
a little bit of longevity.
You're just trying to help the guy out.
Yeah.
Yes, golf and shoveling snow, lifetime sports.
Yeah. All right, so I think that was pretty good. That gives you a good idea of at least us, and even a little bit. The next segment we wanted to get into was kind of like our backstory. So we sort of told a little bit about how, like, different connections between each of us. But as far as the group as a whole, like we've all said, we grew up in the same area, went to the same schools. We all played a lot of sports together.
Shout out Linda Carter for bringing us all together through drama as well.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we have to mention Mrs.
Yeah.
Carter.
Yeah. So and
That's a big
another.
one.
So I think all of us being involved in the drama club I think that's a big thing about like how we can do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Like,
Definitely.
it's not, because it's not necessarily a performance, but it's whether someone's watching this somewhere or not. You know, if they are, it doesn't change how we are. You know.
I mean, we dressed up like women pretty regularly, so like I'm pretty comfortable in just about anything.
There's photo evidence of all this too, just in case anyone wants to creep our social medias.
Photo and video.
If you want to see,
If you're looking for a good time.
if you want to see some interesting shots of Casey in green tights, highly recommend.
Dude, I got that on DVD.
Oh man.
Might have to send me that.
Well, us too, Ben. The one from our senior year when we did the Nutcracker.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a painting
Yeah.
of that actually.
Two
mean,
twos.
Oh, that's right.
As far as the
I
eyes
at
can
least-
see.
I at least had the decency to wear black tights whenever I performed like that.
Dude,
Yeah.
alright, whenever I had the green tights on, though, that was the first performance on stage after they got those new lights.
Oh man. that
And
was
you talk
bad.
about spotlight, shadows and all.
I can only
Excellent
imagine
range
how
of
bad
shadows.
you were sweating though.
Believe it
the
or
new
not.
lights, the
like,
new lights
it-
in the drama room. I can only imagine you just profusely sweating, just ripping those tights off after you were done.
Yeah,
I ripped them
thankfully
off.
there was
I
no
ripped them
video
off. He
evidence
didn't.
of the sweating prior to.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I think that I know that's a little shorter, but I think we kind of covered, like I said, our group backstory.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
You know, as a whole, I want to make sure though. So I think also another part of that was sort of how the show came about. So not just like our friendships, but Ramble in the Mountains backstory, right? So
But
again,
alright, I just want to touch on that because I still remember the day after the our group chat on Snapchat. I may or may not have been drinking whiskey that night, and I was like, dude, let's start a podcast. And then the next day I went back through the message and I was like, oh my god.
Oh
Here
my
we
God!
are.
I'm
Here
going
he
to
is
start
now.
a podcast.
and here he is now drinking whiskey, doing a podcast.
Cheers.
Cheers. Also, side note, if you see us drinking, yes, we are adults. Everyone here is over the age of 21.
I'm 17.
Part
I
of
don't
the
know what
podcast.
you're talking about, dude.
With a beard like that.
I did have
Hey.
a beard like that. What are you talking
So you had a
about?
beard at like 13.
Really?
All right.
You're gonna call me out like
I
that?
mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Honestly,
true.
the first time I watched the movie The Grinch with Jim Carrey, I felt personally attacked when they say you're 8 years old and have a beard. that was me to the guts, man.
I'm sorry.
I would
Gary.
also-
You look.
I would-
You look marvelous, though.
Thank you.
You have
It's really-
blossomed.
It's really came into its own.
Yeah.
I would like to point out though that I'm the oldest member of this group and I'm drinking water. So
That was not planned.
I have whiskey under my feet. I have water tonight.
Why are you standing on whiskey?
I'm sitting down.
Dude,
He's like
Bottle.
Jesus, but with alcohol. Oh,
All
I hate
right.
I
myself.
drink water and
So-
stand on alcohol. Fight
I
me.
know.
Walk on whiskey.
One thing that,
That
a
should be
couple
a
people
country
have asked
song.
me since I started telling people about this was like, what's the deal with the name? And this kind of gets into the next thing we wanted to talk about as well was like what we hope to accomplish with this. So the name, like most podcasts, and I know you guys all listen to a share of yourselves, and I think we'll probably share some of the ones we listen to as recommendations if anybody else is interested, if you're here. But most podcasts, I feel like they have like a general mission or a topic. And we kind of came at this with, we didn't really have something like that. It's more of just, we wanted an excuse to get together and do something different other than just like, talking on the phone together. We realized
Yeah,
we can
for
make
sure.
something out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like,
Our entertainment
That's
needs
where
to be
that-
shared
the-
with the people.
yeah. The ramble comes from that, just general conversation. Like,
Just
we don't really have a
blabbering on and
focus.
on.
We're just
yeah,
rambling.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then on the mountain is homage to, as we said, we're all from West Virginia. So that's where the name comes from. And I
Wow,
don't
and
know
wonderful.
if you guys have anything else you want to say sort of about, like, what do you want to get out of this, or what do you want to accomplish with the podcast? Anybody?
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head, man. Like, just kind of getting together, cracking some cold ones with the boys, even though we're, 2-3 hours away from some of us. So, I mean,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think that, some people can get just as much entertainment out of what we do on a regular basis the way we do. So, I think that's a pretty great idea, honestly. I mean, if they're not into it, they're not into it. But, I mean, that's not going to really hinder us from doing what we're doing.
Yeah, and we won't judge anybody if you got 5 minutes in and just turned it off. Like, I realize
Yeah.
podcasts aren't for everybody.
Our mindset going into it is literally like, even if nobody views or listens to this, it literally doesn't matter. Like, even if it's just an excuse for us to do it, and
20 years from now when we're still best friends,
even if
we
we're
can
the
go
only
back
ones
and
that
watch
have
this.
the 4 views on YouTube, like
Yeah.
the 4 subscribers.
We have more than that on our test video, so I think we'll be in somewhat of a.
I know, but
a
I
good
watched
spot.
it 4 times.
Just
I
padding
watched
the
it
stats.
40 times. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I think just to add on to that, I think the thing you mentioned about all being from West Virginia, but I wouldn't say that this is something to like combat the West Virginia stereotypes, but just to get out there and really just
Just to
kinda
shine a
make
light on it.
Yeah, make a podcast for people. Not necessarily. This isn't just going to be for people from West Virginia, but this is just to kind of show a common podcast. Like we don't have a motive. I don't necessarily have a big story to tell you. I don't have some big motive behind what I'm doing, and I know these 3 don't either. So it's mostly just sharing ourselves, our experiences, talking to each other, and maybe it helps somebody out along the way. Maybe we give somebody some entertainment, but
Even just to bring joy.
we'll get there.
I mean, to kind of touch on what you said about combating like West Virginia stereotypes, like I think people that aren't from West Virginia might just kind of see that. I mean, a lot of times in the media, like West Virginia is just portrayed as a joke, like a barefoot running down gravel roads, and I mean, like, does that happen? Absolutely, but I mean, I think
Do it with
And-
pride.
right, exactly.
For those that don't know, yes, if you're not listening from West Virginia, by God, West Virginia is a state. It's not Western
Yes.
Virginia.
Yes.
Yes.
So Casey, funny story about that. I ran into a girl at the conference I went to a couple weeks ago.
Is she
who-
okay?
Yeah, she was fine. I know. I know. I'm a pretty big guy. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not, but I might do a little damage to a small girl if I ran over. But anyway, about Western Virginia. So this girl is from Western Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
So when she tries to describe it to people, she's like, "Oh, I'm from the western part of Virginia," and they're like, "Oh, West Virginia." So apparently,
That's so interesting.
apparently we're not
That
the
is
only
literally
ones.
the exact opposite.
Right.
So
apparently, we're not the only ones that go through it. Apparently, people from Western Virginia have to deal with it too. So we're kind of one and the same.
I
even
have
though we're
never
different.
considered that.
Yeah.
Shout out Winchester, man.
Ding!
and
Shout out
anybody
Western
along
Virginia.
The
Ding!
Western
Anybody in
Virginia
Western
border.
Virginia, we feel your pain.
Uh,
Oh, it sucks. That's so cool though. I never thought
We're
about that.
already making a difference.
Yeah, she was from Radford, so she went to school in Virginia, but she's also from Virginia, and she was describing the pain that it is to describe somebody that I'm from Western Virginia, and of course I spoke up and I'm like, I get it, sign me up.
Preach.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe kind of, and I know I'd taken a little note here about, maybe not in this episode, but maybe somewhere along the road we'll develop like a mission statement, I think is what they call it for other podcasts. But if we don't, that right here, everything we just described is kind of it, And
We're just here for a good time.
Yeah. And the
Not a
thing
long
about that
time.
too though is like I've seen a lot of criticism for podcasts of people that just get on and they're kind of like this, where they don't really have anything to say specifically. It's just like them talking. But I feel like we can accomplish that in at least somewhat entertaining level, because I can understand that it would be annoying if. And I think we've done a good job so far, and we're gonna have to keep reminding ourselves to explain some of the things that do make sense to us, but like maybe it won't make sense.
Don't
to
make
anybody
sense to
else.
everybody else.
Yeah, it's different because like we're not just like, I mean, I guess to an extent we are just kind of blabbering, but at the same time, like, it's not just boring bullcrap that we're talking about.
Yeah.
It
Right.
has some volume to it.
Yeah. Okay. I think we pretty much wrapped that one up. If we want to get into sort of the next note I have is talking about the format that people that do if you're watching this first one, thank you. And if you decide to come back, what to expect as we kind of go on. We've come into this with somewhat of a plan, even though, like we said, it's a loose conversation. We have a little bit of a roadmap sort of sketched out.
Yeah.
So these things that happened so far, I'm sure every episode will probably spend the beginning doing a little bit of like a catch up of like, hey, how's everybody doing? Is anything interesting going on? Something like that. But other than that, we do plan to have certain segments or topics that we're gonna, just try to talk through. If you guys want to try to explain some of those that we've talked about so far, go ahead.
Well, I think one of the big ones that I think it'll be good to continue to do after we start it. I think it'll kind of be a hit. Is the AskReddit segment, and I mean
r/AskReddit.
Yes, and as us four know, like obviously Reddit is hysterical. There's so much you can see on there. But
it's also serious sometimes too.
Yeah,
True.
yeah, and I just think that'll be a good. I just think it'll be a good segment to keep doing. And because even just the Ask Reddit part of Reddit touches on so many different things.
Do you kind of want to explain what it is though, like, other than just the title?
Well, so I don't know. I mean, I'm still new to Reddit.
I'll
subscribed to Ask Reddit, but if one of you guys want to describe it, I think it'll be
I'll
better.
go through it. So essentially, what it is, Reddit, even if you're unfamiliar, it's called the front page of the internet. So really, you can find anything at all on Reddit. Whatever you're interested in, there is a subreddit for it, which is basically a place where people can post all in that group.
While you guys are talking about this, I'm gonna go get another.
Run.
Yeah. Give me one.
Run.
Give me one.
But so Ask Reddit is basically a place where people will come and ask questions. As you'll see later, and if you check it out, you'll see them. But they'll just come and ask questions, and the conglomeration of everybody that is Reddit will come in and answer those questions. So there's been a lot of them in the past. Again, we'll kind of get to those questions, and we'll answer some of them for you. But anybody can post on that subreddit and ask a question, and then it's basically everybody that is subscribed to it just throws in their answer.
And it's really, like 2 million people, isn't it, in that subreddit?
It has, I think it's over 20, actually.
Over 20? Right, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
So I mean, a significant population.
Yeah, and the thing is
21,210,000 plus.
Right. The thing is you get a lot of different perspective on these questions, because I think we're all kind of, I don't want to say nearsighted, but we're all kind of nearsighted on our issues. I just saw a big flash, and I don't know.
Yeah, when did you screenshot it?
I don't know if you got a flash grenade or if you're.
I wish.
But yeah, that's kind of what AskReddit is. It's basically just a place for people to ask questions. So, and sometimes they'll be more specific to certain occupations or whatnot. Sometimes people get on and be like high school teachers of Reddit, something about high school students.
Yeah, and it's such
like
a broad range. I mean, there's stuff from like dead serious kind of questions and concerns to, I mean, literally just funny, stupid shit. So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, and you'll probably get a little bit of both from us, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Because
you can only hope.
While our goal is to entertain, I think we all know as well as anybody that we all have serious sides. So we can bring that out if we have to, and that's the glory of something like AskReddit. Is it really is a broad spectrum of questions to get a lot of different perspectives on.
Yeah.
That was beautiful.
Good conversation.
You weren't here for any of it.
Context clues. Put it together.
He got
So,
the beginning
side
and the
note,
end.
didn't just get another beer. Part of having a good marriage. Ran a popsicle upstairs to my wife. So,
Tell you what, that's good hustle right there.
yeah.
That's
You out
solid.
of breath?
I'm
I
not
was
out of
saying-
breath just from walking to my fridge, I promise.
Right.
See, now I would be. That's the difference.
All right. So you guys, you covered AskReddit for that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I think the other thing, and I'm sure there's more that we can go into, but just kind of a pop culture thing too. We're all pretty big sports fans to a degree. We're all big football fans. We all like hockey, baseball, little bit of basketball, very little.
Basketball.
WVU
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah,
Sports.
if it's not WVU basketball, chances are I'm not watching it. But
Not in this
But
year.
before
No.
we even get into that, though, shout out Bucks.
ding.
Milwaukee Bucks, 2 years drafted me on NBA Live 15. This is our year, baby.
He's got to come up through the.
I
G
still
League.
regret not doing that design challenge you sent me.
Hey man, you could have
Oh,
won
for the-
big.
What was it? So like,
It was the
they had
hat.
a contest to design a hat, and you got something for it. But Casey
Yeah.
sent it to me as a challenge, and I just never got around to it. Sorry, buddy.
But yeah, sports is one thing. We all like movies. We all like different varieties of music. We all like to go to concerts. Video games. We're all big gamers. I'm not as big of a gamer, but I know these three guys love to do it. But I can stay in the conversation, at least with that. So just
Yeah.
kind of covering a little bit of everything. What's new, what's hot, what's current,
Yeah.
whatever it may be across the world. The world's
Yeah,
topics.
I actually have a list of a couple. I'll just run through them, and I know you covered some of them just now. But like you said, sports, movies, video games. Generally, like in the news, I know I've come across a couple things already just planning that I've heard. They're not necessarily news, but just kind of like, hey, have you guys heard of this? Or did you see
Right.
this? You know.
Right.
And if there's something like that, we want to try to avoid talking about things you have to see, because while this is on YouTube, if people are just listening to it, it's kind of annoying. I know I listen to a lot of podcasts where like they're watching something and I'm listening to it on the way to work, and then I have to, when I get there or like when I get home, go to the video, find
Right.
it. So it's like,
You
if
need to
there
go
is
back to
something,
the podcast and reference it.
Right.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a
if
lot
there
of work.
is something
Try
like
to
that,
avoid that.
I will try to edit in things into our video for those that are watching to make it.
Unless if it's something like extremely viral that we know that everyone has probably seen.
Right.
Yeah, that's like, for example, and we don't have to talk about it right now, but one of the things I was going to talk about was the Bird Box Challenge.
Right.
Like, I'm sure you guys have heard about the
Yeah.
stupid stuff that has been happening with that, but that's an example.
I'm
of
gonna do it at
stuff
work
like
trying
that.
to sell a car.
Please. And record it.
I'm just gonna try to smack the hood.
That sounds like good material right there.
This boy.
This bad boy
sir,
can
that's
fit
my
so
car.
much. That bad boy can fit so much spaghetti in it.
While we're we're going on 40 minutes now, and this is something we got to remind ourselves, if we actually do get sponsors. We have 2 sponsors today, owned by 2 of the gentlemen in this podcast, that we're going to do ad reads for, so we'll try to do them. I say every 20 minutes is what we should go for. So we got to make sure we remind ourselves to do that. Now, Bob, I don't know if you would like to start or if you want me to go first. Whatever.
Yeah.
You would like.
I'll go ahead and give it a whirl.
It's just a reference. Casey is the owner of
Woodworking.
Bob Smiley's. I think I said it earlier, but just to... Oh, sorry.
If you're gonna do the ad read, do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry,
So-
my bad.
For those of you that don't know, I, myself, aka Bob Smiley, picked up on a little bit of woodworking in the last couple years. So I'm just going to read straight from the ad read for now. I think once we get into the podcast a little bit more, we'll try to like actually work it into the conversation, like lead up to it. But for the first episode, I think it'll be alright just to read straight from it. So Bob Smiley's Woodworking offers personalized, handmade woodworking products of any type, ranging from small country decor to custom wooden flags and even rustic furniture. You find something you like on Pinterest, like to have it in your home abode, screenshot it. Something you see out in public, snap a quick pic and send any ideas to Bob to get exactly what you're looking for. And don't forget about the Bob Smiley Lifetime Guarantee that comes with all products purchased. Hands down the greatest guarantee offered on any product in the history of woodworking, and at a great price of free $99. That's FREE 99. Fair price, fair prices, wicked fast response time, and great customer service.
It's wicked fast, man.
To place an order or see previous projects, just go to facebook.com/Bob Smileys. That's FACEBOOK.com/BOBSMILEYS. And that is it.
It was very beautiful.
I can't wait to place my order. You really convinced me.
Yeah. I need to use my lifetime guarantee for one of the first Bob Smiley's products. The WV fell off of my West Virginia.
I'll get on it.
Yeah. But I do promise, if I could drive it to you right now, he would. You know, he does good work. So.
You just drop the podcast and come in with it.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
All right. So, at this point, it looks like we might have lost Casey. Said he's frozen.
Oh no.
I think he's out. I think.
So, this is where I will insert the technical difficulty screen with a fun tune. Stay tuned.
Stay hold.
All right, so welcome back from the technical difficulty screen. We've
My
got
bad.
Casey back. Yeah, that's all right. Derek broke the Wi-Fi again with his presence. All right, so now that we've given you the wonderful audience, and maybe that guy 300 years from now that's listening to all the audio, a good introduction of who we are, the show is, how it's going to go from here on out, why don't we get into our first actual segment? And it won't be as long as, say, our other shows because we spent so much time on the intro, but this is an example of sort of what you can expect going off of whoever introduced AskReddit. We figured that's probably going to be the one we do the most, so we figured probably the best thing to try out on our first episode.
Yeah.
So I know somebody said, I don't know if you guys want to go with the question you had before, or if you want to find a new one. Whatever you think.
Dill, do you want to go with the one that you told me earlier? The one that we talked about?
Yeah, that's fine with me. So, the one that I found, I thought would be pretty good. I'll ask it, and then one of you guys want to go ahead and start. What
Ben, you start.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, what human sport would you be most interested in seeing dogs participate in?
So I kind of want to like ones they could actually participate in, or talk about ones like they can't. I mean, like with their bodies they have, they could potentially participate. They couldn't hardly play basketball because they don't have hands.
Have you
Now,
ever
wait
seen
a minute.
Airbud?
Wait a minute. Have you ever
let's
seen
not-
Airbud? That guy was all state.
I'm so disappointed in you.
Come on.
I mean, I've seen
That
Airbud.
video was
but, like-
100% real.
Oh, okay. All right. Ah, man, this is hard to come up with on the spot, though.
So
Go ahead.
are
Garrett.
they the main athletes, or are
They
they
are
part
all
of
the athletes.
Only.
It is a dog. It is a dog
Only dogs.
oriented sport.
So, I mean, originally I was thinking like maybe they're just a part of the sport. They're not the main. I was gonna say like, so I'm sure everyone's seen, where like, baseball teams have bat boys, and they sometimes there's teams that have a dog that goes and gets the bat.
Such
well, I was
bad
thinking
boys.
from like an Olympic like track and field standpoint, and the javelin, it's literally throwing a stick. So like you throw the javelin, the dog runs down, fetches it, brings it back. I think they are like made for that. You just get a
Till the
team
dog
of golden
is-
retrievers.
Till the dog is faster than the stick, runs, gets ready to get under it, and then gets impaled on the field.
You have
That's
to
a-
give. There's a
That's a
3-second
risk.
delay.
That's a risk
Right,
we're
like,
willing to take.
Once the javelin
Yeah,
is
I
thrown,
mean-
3 seconds, then the dog goes.
The best of boys have patience. So
True.
I think that they would be okay playing with the javelin.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So
I think
if we're gonna go with Olympics, my vote would be, especially if it's the Winter Olympics. Could you imagine like that, like the big ski jump where they do the thing where they like float like flying squirrels? I would love to
I can
see a
literally
dog
just picture the dog like on all fours like this.
dead concentrated, just fly drifting down the slope. That would be my answer if we're going Olympics. Casey.
Minnick, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and go.
Yeah.
I was thinking football, but now that I think of it, I think hockey would be
Basic.
absolutely insane. Like, let alone if they were on their paws, but if they were on skates, like, I know you can see the videos of like, like dog owners or parents that put like the little slippers on dogs whenever it's wintertime, and they like, just like walk like this all the time.
Just like
if you
that.
could just imagine them in the skates and try to get something into a net of that sort, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. My thought when you said hockey, have you ever seen the videos, especially with the snow going around right now? There was a bunch that people shared where like there's a kid going down on a sled and a dog just comes out of nowhere and takes him
Yeah.
out. I could
Shout
only
out
imagine.
Sean
Shout out Tom Wilson.
Rest in peace.
Tom
Some
Wilson's
big-
dog. Yeah.
No, that's Sean Taylor as a dog. Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. He's just coming over the middle, cleaning heads, just taking them out.
Some dog just coming through and
It was just a
laying
Pro Bowl
into him.
slide.
Side note about dogs in hockey. Bark Andre Fleury, and that's all I have to say.
Also, the Pens need to get on this trend.
Sydney
I don't know
dogs,
how
dude.
many hockey teams that have been posting videos of like dogs that are out on the ice, like pregame and everything. The Penguins need to get in on
They're
that.
therapy dogs. So
Yes.
for quick reference here, Garrett, Casey, and myself are all Penguins fans. Ben is a Blackhawks fan. We
Man.
certainly don't hold that against him because we're all just fans of the sport.
That's
So-
how many
They gave
games
us
I've
last
seen
week.
this year.
Oh,
Settle.
Not enough, obviously. Oh,
Apparently
Um,
they're not worth watching though. So
No, only when they beat the Penguins.
we haven't beat
Twice.
we haven't beat Chicago since 2014, and Casey and I were seniors in high school at that point. So
Yikes. Yikes.
yikes.
So
Sorry.
I think my answer, Casey, to your point, I do like football and hockey, but I also don't want to see dogs get CTE. Not a big fan of dog head injuries. Not really my thing. So
But is it real?
I'm gonna go with the obvious answer, and I think it's definitely water polo because can you imagine watching them swim one, and then they have to just like knock the ball around like seals.
Honestly, I
To
swear
get
to
it
God,
in?
Chopper could do that.
Well, that's yeah, and then he'd bark at everybody along the way because he's just a little mean guy. But yeah, I think the obvious answer is water polo because I mean we've seen Air Bud compete in a lot of sports, and yeah, it's interesting, but we're definitely tapping a new market here. Just and it would be like the same terminology. You know, you get a little short dog out there, like you put a pug in there, they'll be like, "Oh, that's the scrappy one. He's the scrappy player." You need to put like Chico in the water, who's a small little pug, and like,
Chico doesn't swim.
well, that's what I mean. Like you put Chico in the water, and he's automatically the scrappy one because he's the small one. Everybody expects the Great Danes to be good at it because they're huge. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely water polo. Mostly just because I don't want to see dogs get CTE, but that's
Fair enough. I'm trying to think of some other interesting ones. Like, there's got to be, like,
golf.
I could imagine, I could see a dog actually becoming good at bowling. Like, I could see that really happening.
Now,
Explain, please.
just using their noggins.
Yeah, so like,
Because
Then
like
they
I'm a
get
pretty good
CTE
bowler, and I
bowling.
think I would kick any dog. So
that's messed
No
up.
offense, canines.
I mean, like, because you can roll a bowling ball pretty slow and still get strikes, right?
Right.
No.
Yeah, me and Garrett sometimes donkey kick it down the lane.
Yeah. So I could see a dog, like a golden retriever, getting real serious and taking their nose, line it up, and just, one little nudge and send it down the way.
Full
I
send.
don't know, especially because they have really good memories. I could see it happening.
It's kind of like the little device that they give younger kids that they can just push the ball down the lane.
That's
Yeah.
cheap.
Dogs have a little bit of assistance with the dismount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't even think the dog would need a
Trajectory.
ramp. Yeah. See, they could calculate it.
I guarantee you some dogs would learn. They would know exactly where to line it up on those dots and push it right through whatever arrow.
That's
Oh,
what
yeah.
I'm
Oh,
saying.
yeah.
I'm not saying all dogs,
No.
but I could see some dogs taking it in stride.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Any other ones?
I think tennis would be interesting. Just watching them carry the stick around and swinging in.
You've seen how dogs react to tennis balls, right?
See, that was my thing. I was like, imagining a
Not
dog with
happening.
any ball.
I think what we're assuming is that the dogs are the athletes and they don't get deterred by tennis balls as they would as normal canines.
It's a completely
So-
different mindset.
I'm imagining this is an alternate universe
Fair enough.
where
I mean,
dogs
if we're
are the
talking
superior
about a team
athletes.
of dogs playing sports.
We are the dog's best friends.
Well, then I would like to see a dog play darts. Just
Could you
because.
imagine? Put it between the two little dog nails.
His little,
Actually-
his little thumb up on his wrist. Just squeezing a dart in
Like
there.
all the way down
That'd be
here.
beautiful.
Just for a moment, let's pretend that all animals are athletes, and then my answer changes. It would definitely be NASCAR, because because the dog would just trying to be wreck the cat the whole time, and like the deer would just jump out and get in front of the car and just get wrecked. Like it would be fantastic. In
That
an
took a
alternate,
wild turn.
And that's
Exactly.
exactly how I expect this segment to go.
a lot of wild turns with
Every
with,
time.
with animals driving NASCARs at 200 miles an hour.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Oh, man. If dogs wore pants, though, how would they wear them?
They would wear
Exactly
them
like a human.
they would wear them like fire suits when they're driving NASCARs.
Over the tail, not all four
Oh.
legs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think all four legs is ever the answer.
No.
But
Unless it's a jumpsuit. If a dog was a trash man, yeah.
a fighter pilot dog.
A trash dog. We don't want to offend canine types.
Oh, my
so
bad.
Yeah. True.
yeah.
Okay. Well, do you guys want to... So we're... Like, with the little technical difficulties we had, right now we're at just about an hour. If we edited that out, I'd say we'd probably be around 50 minutes.
We could do another quick one if you wanted to. Why not?
Try to find
I'm always
something.
down for a quickie, so
Yeah, get another quick one on there. I thought the first one went pretty well. We got some pretty
Alright.
solid
So does
answers in there.
Does anybody have one that they that they've like looked at before, or do we just want to try to find one?
I'm currently scrolling.
Minnick, did you have one earlier? I don't
Here we go.
remember what it was.
The
What?
first one I saw, this one sounds kind of interesting.
Go for it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Now, this is a little difficult because the people listening might not necessarily know our parents, but I feel like we
This
could
is
put
the
a
same one.
commentary.
Same one,
Yeah.
Casey.
What's the
Yes.
most I'm turning into my parents moment?
Oh, I
for
saw
you?
that earlier.
Okay, before we start, this isn't necessarily like my parents per se, but I don't know if it's Progressive or Geico that has these commercials lately where it's like after so and so brought insurance, they started turning into their parents, and it's like the
I've seen
guy, he's like at the bar, he's like, can we get around a jalapeno poppers for the boys?
Hi, Tom Pritchard here. Hey,
Tom
can we
Pritchard.
get around a jalapeno poppers for the boys?
I love those commercials.
Oh man, it's like with this question for me, it's like the wording pick the most, because I know I have a couple. that
Yeah, I have a
just off
handful
the top
too.
of my head.
Honestly, the first thing that pops into my head is just the dad bod.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I've had that since I was 14, dude, so like
right. I was gonna say.
I can't
started,
relate.
I started balding when I was 13. I knew I was going to be a dad really on. Like, it really wasn't a quick transition. It was just like 13. There goes your hairline.
Pop that hat
guys.
off easy, man. Why don't you? If you can pop it off easy, why don't you give them the peek? Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Dude, I could see the reflection from here.
There's a solar eclipse tonight. I didn't know if you knew or not, but you're gonna catch it a little bit there in the Eastern
It's
Panhandle.
blinding.
Oh. Ah, man.
Turn it into my
Honestly,
parents.
though, like, I don't know. There's been so many times, like, for the longest time, like, I always thought that I resembled a lot of, like, my mom's side of the family's features. But lately, like, it's just, like, just the little things that I do. It's like, oh my god, dude, like, I sound just like my dad. Or, like, my dad would do exactly like that. Like, I'm turning into my dad.
Example?
I don't even know. Like, it's literally even just, like, the way I hold myself. Like, I don't even know. Like, I know it sounds weird, but it's, like, even just, like, some of, like, the little noises that happen throughout the day. Like, I know that sounds weird. But like
No, not at all.
Here we go.
it's
Let's
literally
have
just
it.
like
Boog, it's like that episode of Family Guy where Peter's in the chair and he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna sit down here in the chair and I'm gonna make dad noises."
yeah. It doesn't matter what you're doing, like as long as there's a grunt in there of any sort.
I can definitely relate to that. I mean, I'm a bigger guy anyway, but sometimes I'll get out of bed, and I mean, it's not even a matter of needing to stretch or yawn. I'm just like, ugh. And I'm just like, when did I turn 55 years old?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, little things like that.
My
Yeah.
dad has an interesting one and I've done this for a while. My mom always had a funny story about it. When my dad would come home from work, my mom would always say she knew when he'd had a long day because she would look at his eyebrow. It was one eyebrow. I don't remember if it was the right or the left. But when he was at work and he was like thinking hard or heavy, he would sit there and twist his eyebrow up.
Oh, jeez.
And I find myself doing that now. Like at work.
One thing that
Like,
that,
it's just
that
like
just sparked.
it's like you'll sit there and
like-
even if it's not my eyebrow, it's like especially like this spot right here.
Right.
Yeah. One thing that just made me
Go ahead.
think of something. Like, if my dad's just like just standing around like trying to think of something, especially like whenever he's like working on any kind of project, like whenever Forrest Gump is standing in their house with Jenny at the end, like towards the end of the movie, and he's standing there like with his hands on his hips like this, and like his guts, he's just like he's not trying to suck his gut in at all. Like my dad did that all the time, and I found myself doing it all the time.
That's a great football coach stance. You just, it's like you're the line coach. You're just standing there and you got your hands on your hips standing out and you're watching a bunch of. Yeah, it's perfect.
Gut just
Yeah, you just
Doesn't give a-
give him the old razzle dazzle there, kid.
All right, Minnick and Garrett, what's yours?
So I kind of got two, and they're not really like characteristics, like physical things that. But one thing that I've definitely caught myself doing more, and I know that I directly picked it up from my dad, is cussing at hockey games. Something that I have absolutely no control over. But, you know, from the time I was like 10 years old and hearing my dad just cuss out a goalie for something that is happening, 7 hours away, I'm doing the exact same thing. I get very frustrated. I think I have gray hair just from watching hockey games, something that I just have like no control over. I get very frustrated. I say some words that I don't mean. My mom, who is a huge Christian woman, I watch hockey games with her.
As in like largely Christian or like a huge woman?
No, she's about $140. She's not very big,
Like you don't know,
but
Kathy.
she is a
Kathy
For the
very,
audience.
she's a very big
I love you,
follower
Kathy.
of the Lord.
We'll share a picture of Kathy sometime so you guys can get an idea.
Please
She's not a
don't.
large. She's
you
not
go.
a large woman. She's a very nice
No.
Christian
She's
woman.
a very lovely,
Yeah,
kind
so the fact that I will scream just obscenities at the TV watching a hockey game with her, I'm like, yeah, I am absolutely my dad.
Yeah, but that made me think of something else too. Like, I distinctly remember, like, whenever my dad would get pissed off whenever we were younger, like, he would grit his teeth like this and point his fucking finger like that, and I catch myself doing that, even if it's just to the dog. But like, getting
You do that
pissed
to
off,
us.
I know. Like, getting pissed off anymore. That's what I do. I grit my teeth and like quench your lips just a little bit, and it's like, God bless America.
So one thing to add to that, one time, obviously, I didn't drive for a while, so I had to rely on getting rides to Casey's house whenever we were in high school. We're sitting in his bedroom just BSing, doing 16-year-old stuff, and I hear, "Get in there! Get in there!" And I'm like, "Is your dad watching hockey?" He's like, "No, he's watching golf." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, this is amazing.
Such a good example.
So I definitely see myself turning into that as well. Even though that's not my dad. My dad doesn't watch golf. I do occasionally. So I see that turning into a habit of mine.
Yeah.
But I did say I had two that I wanted to touch on. The other one, it's not really that big of a deal. But when I first turned 21, obviously if you drink when you're not 21, you shouldn't do that. I'm a health teacher. But, you kind of just drink whatever's around.
Point at you.
Right. You just, so whenever I first turned 21, I was like trying all kinds of beers, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely like this big craft beer guy. I want to try all these new hops and this and that. And over the past year, I'm like, I love Miller Lite. Miller Lite is my favorite beer now, and that is what my dad's been drinking since he was 21.
Hands
Not
down
a
the
sponsor.
most dad beer.
Yeah, so I mean,
That's
the
funny
fact
because
that-
that's my favorite one. So
Hands
It
down
was-
the best
There we are.
light beer there is.
It wasn't for
Shout
me
out Miller
though
Lite.
until just this past year, and I'm like, my dad had something right all along. So shout out Grant for influencing me when it comes to beer.
Honestly,
Another
another
wonderful
thing
human.
though, like, your dad has always been such like a crack ass kind of guy. Like, like
My dad has never done crack. It's like,
I mean, just like, it doesn't matter what the situation is. Like, he's always cracking jokes. Like,
oh yeah, no. And so like just to kind of touch on that, just real brief. So I work at a retailer that I'm not gonna say just because I probably shouldn't say. But my dad actually has also recently got a part-time job there, and some of the stuff that people come up to me and be like, "Man, your dad, he's on my hard today." So not that my dad's a
Some
bad
meds?
person. Yeah, not that my dad's a bad person, but man, he loves to pick on people, like Casey was saying. So like it doesn't matter, and I just cut my thumb pretty good with a knife. So
you have a knife for it right now.
Great.
you never know what's
God.
you never know what's gonna happen here.
but yeah,
Dude,
my dad's a
better
great
than
man,
that.
and he taught me
I
how
just
to like
puked in my
beer.
hand.
So
And
Dude,
custom
your dad's
hockey.
awesome. Shout out Grant.
shout out Grant.
Yeah. All right, Minute, close her out.
Oh my!
Where
So-
to begin?
I'm the only one of the four of us that's an only child. So not that I didn't spend time with my friends, but I didn't have any siblings to balance out anything. So I'm like full mom and dad, pretty much. Dad, I'll admit I'm not an overly organized person in general, but I will admit the first time that I bought a CD and had to have it in alphabetical order, I was very much that I was turning into my father. And I'm very irritated that all my CDs are not in alphabetical order right now. So it's
Dude,
It's a
I
little
love
silly.
it. Like,
Excuse me.
every single thing that you guys have said, like, it makes me think about, like, stuff that, like, it just keeps, like, popping up. Like, oh, yeah, like, I'm the same way with my dad. Like, my dad is
I think we
so
all go
OCD
through-
about certain things. And then, like, I'm, like, he's been working on the interior of the house, like, changing everything around. And, like, he's always, like, every time I go over there, he's like, oh, let me get, like, the measuring tape and see what this is and blah, blah, blah. And, like, he can't find it. But then, like, growing up and everything, like, I still remember the big thing, like, every single night before he would go to bed, every single time he would pass the refrigerator, he would, like, touch the handles, like, 2 or 3 times to make sure it was shut all the way. Like, in certain little OCD things like that, like, I do. And then
Yep.
other stuff, he's, like, completely oblivious. Like, he just leaves
Yeah.
tools set around and everything. Like, I'm the exact same way.
Yeah.
I will say though with mom, I always say with mom and dad, that I share the best parts of their personalities. And mom's is definitely when I'm at work and dealing with people.
Yeah.
Because mom, well, we won't go too much into it, but mom works a job where she's very much around people all the time, and so do I.
And shout out Shelly, man. I know
Shelly.
she's going to be listening to this.
She'll be listening to this. She'll take some
Love you,
time out of
Shelly.
her day. But very much...
My second mom.
All of
very
our second
much-
moms.
Very much the way that she deals with people. I can't help it. It's just passed down from
She's very
Shelly to Ryan.
personable.
We all have our days, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, just so out of this conversation, I think a big note
What were you
for
gonna
anybody
say?
that's listening that's
You're
younger.
completely glitched out.
Frozen up a little bit.
So my dad was always on my ass about my tires. So like,
Yes.
I'll get in the
That
car
still
with
is.
I'll get in the car with somebody as a passenger, and I'll be sitting in their front seat, and I'll be like, "Man, you really need to get new tires soon." Like, I'm starting to see you going a little bit bald there. Shout out Minnick.
What about
That
my
still
car?
is like.
So
I feel
mean,
like
just little
it's every
things like
time
that.
that I go over there.
Like I got into someone's car the other day, and they need an oil change, and I'm like, "You really got to get an oil change. Like your car is telling you it's time." So just little things like that. But I mean, obviously, I think we all have a little
Dude.
bit of our parents in us.
Oh,
Yes,
100%.
another big one. Like
Literally a whole
Actually,
lot.
literally, all of us is our parents. So
I know that was really
Alright.
stupid to say, but
One
I mean,
more-
I'm just
one more
saying,
small thing to
just
touch on, like-
habitually speaking.
Like my dad
Yeah.
always like if there was something plugged in and there was some kind, it doesn't matter what it was, if it was touching that outlet, like he was like, you got to get that off there, it's gonna burn the house down. Like if there's
Yeah.
like a shirt or anything laying near the cords like charging our phones overnight, I'm like, I gotta move that right now.
that's not a bad quality to pick up, though.
No, but it
that's-
was just something like it's never happened that I've known of, but it's something that I don't want to happen because like my dad would be so pissed if that was the cause.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want to be the guy.
So, can everybody hear me now, just for clarification?
Yeah,
Yes,
you're good.
sir.
Okay. So, from that whole conversation, I was going to say to the younger folks that might be listening, you're going to find these things down the road. It happens with everybody. Anybody who's older, that listening, I'm sure, as we're all sitting here talking, you're probably like, oh, yeah, that's something I do. And it's a great thing. All four of us, I think, have a very good relationship with our parents.
Yeah.
So, they love you for a reason, and you get
Yeah.
so much from them,
Yeah, even if like
Liam,
you
Pam,
said, even if
I
it's
love you.
even if it's like anybody younger that's like tuning in, like it might not seem like it, but sooner or later you're gonna realize like you're the exact number one and number two of
Yeah.
your parents.
Yeah,
It's
I
not-
mean, one thing
It's
I've
wild.
recently realized, not that I ever had any kind of bad relationship with my parents, but I know a lot of people that do resent their parents kind of going through like adolescence and like their high school years. But
Or even adults.
90% of the time when you look back on a situation where you're like mom and dad just don't know, they were right. They were absolutely
Right.
right, and they're still going to continue to be right. They've lived more experiences than you can imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a bad thing to turn into your parents. Because I think
No.
I think Casey, you said it like, or maybe it was Ben, but you like turn into the best parts of your parents.
Right.
So it's funny that like I look back now and like everything that mom and dad are and were, and like I said, still are, but here I am today, the living, breathing culmination of
Yeah,
of-
like
of
using
mom
you
and
as an
dad.
example, the best part of Shelly Minnick and the best part of Mike Minnick.
It's Ryan
Ryan
Minnick.
Minnick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
right.
Yeah. I was gonna say, and this is just a small side note. I don't want to get on a soap opera, but like anybody whose parents that you're fortunate enough, young or old, that are still around or still in your life, give them a call. See how things are going. Tell them you love them. It's important because if you are fortunate enough to have your parents, I guarantee 9 times out of 10 of their day they're thinking about you and how you're doing.
Right.
I heard that recently, and it's like, not that I love my parents, and I think I have a very healthy relationship with them, but I think we all, as you grow up, you get busy.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just, make sure you take time to do that.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
I live with my parents.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Ding!
So obviously, I'm still a college student, so I still live with my parents. Fortunately enough, but if I ever have a conversation with my parents that goes over 15 minutes, I'm like, wow, like I really appreciate sitting and talking to my parents, and I live with them. So like,
Yeah.
don't take for granted what the time that you might actually have.
Yeah, you'll learn to appreciate it so much more.
Oh yeah.
When I think of good values, one company I think of is Blue Design.
Oh, right into it.
That's a
Right
great
into it.
Example of
Look at that.
bringing the
Look at
bringing
that.
the ad read in.
See, that's what I'm
before
talking
we-
about.
Before we close, we're gonna end with one more ad read, and I'm sure we're gonna have the same 2 for the first 3 episodes.
Hey,
But,
I'm working on one
Or
though.
more.
For those of you that don't know, I think it was mentioned earlier, I did start my own kind of design. It's not really a studio, it's just a page on Instagram.
It's a
because I do like it.
multi-billionaire company.
Yeah, we're getting there.
You haven't heard of this yet?
It's called Blue Design, Blue having 2 B's. Creativity and passion. Blue Design is a small startup built around those 2 ideals. Custom graphics, multimedia production, and more. If you have a need for a unique piece to better fit your brand, project, gift idea, or whatever you need, Blue Design is ready to take your graphic need from concept to creation. And the best part, you don't have to pay a cent. The creators at Blue Design, me, have a
Plural.
passion. I have multiple personalities.
His right and left hand.
They have a passion to see a finer world and are ready and willing to work on one with you to ensure your needs are met and exceeded. What are you waiting for? Reach out to Ben Brown to any of the following means. Facebook at facebook.com/BBlue or Blue Designs, but it's BBlueDesigns. Instagram at Blue Design, same thing, 2 B's. Or email at bluedesign with 2 B's at hotmail.com. Blue Design, experience creativity.
Oi.
So that
Yeah.
first B is actually silent because Ben is of French descent, and as everyone knows, when there's 2 B's back to back in the French language, it's silent. And he also designed this beautiful T-shirt. I'm just kidding. He didn't. He would have done a much better
No,
job.
I didn't.
He would have done a much better job than a 15 with a rose in the middle. But I was
Okay,
actually
to-
I was with these 2 guys the night I bought this shirt.
To
so
be fair, that
I
was
always
a
hold
really
that.
good show.
It was
Shame.
amazing.
Shameless plug, all the graphics you see at the beginning and the end of the show were created by Blue Design. So,
Shout out Ben and Bean. Ding! Both the
Bean.
dual personalities behind Blue Design.
yeah. All right, folks and boys. So that brings us to the end of this wonderful experimental journey. I'm sure as we sort of go through our different episodes, we'll come up with some sort of a close. I don't know if any of you guys have ideas you want to share right now for something we can do to sort of wrap it all up.
One thing I would like to share. So at the beginning, I said that I wasn't going to say thank you. If you made it to this point, I would really like to say thank you. Obviously, we're not looking to get big or get fame from this. It's just something that we're wanting to do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you're willing to stick with us through that and just kind of see how this thing grows, we really do appreciate that. So, like,
Very
thank
much
you
so.
sincerely if you're watching this. A lot of you are going to be friends and family. Hopefully there's some strangers watching this who get to know us just as well. So we do appreciate any viewership that we get from anybody. So thank you.
And I have one shout out. Sooner or later, Pat McAfee's going to be on the show.
One of these days.
Or
One
vice
of
versa.
these
Anybody out there happens to know Pat McAfee, tell him we're welcome. He's welcome anytime he wants
All
to.
right. And Ben, you just said if anybody, just one thing I would like to kind of note, if anybody has ideas that they would like to see or hear us kind
Yes.
of bring
Yeah,
to the
feel
table,
free.
drop a comment. You know, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and obviously you're probably watching us on YouTube right now. So leave us a comment. Let us know something that you would like to see us do.
Anything.
if
Yep.
if you think that we should change our format some way, like we're very open to feedback. We might not take it completely to heart if you tell us that we suck.
I
know,
will.
I'll take it to
Or we
heart
will.
too. Yeah, I'm a very emotional person, but
Don't be mean.
but honestly, any feedback you can give us, we appreciate. We are looking to grow in this, so yeah, just leave us
Definitely.
a little comment, even if it's as simple as just say, hey, we really enjoy what you guys are doing. Keep it up.
Yeah,
That means
positive
just,
feedback.
That means just as much as a hey, maybe you could do this a little bit different. So, keep us in mind with things like that.
Yeah.
Good point.
All right. So I think that does a pretty good job. With that, thanks for tuning in, especially if you made it this far, and we shall see you next time. Be careful in the snow if you have to drive tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Love you.